welcome to the session. Topic of this session is instruments of agricultural policy. Whenever we talk about the agricultural policy, there are two things. One is some intended objectives, some objectives that we want to achieve, some goal we want to achieve out of the policy action, and there are some means, tools or methods or technology to achieve that outcome. So, instruments are basically a means to achieve a outcome of a policy action. So, in this sense basically we will be discussing about different instruments which are available for agriculture policy and which we are using in the country to achieve the goal of agriculture. There may be different goals. Sometimes we want to increase the farmers income, sometimes we want to have the food security in the country, sometimes we have a goal to conserve our natural resources. So, there are different instruments of achieving these objectives, this goal. So, in this session basically we are going to discuss about different instruments of agricultural policy, and before that first we will understand what are the instruments. So, instruments are basically some things which the manager or actor can change or manipulate in order to produce a desired effect. Sometimes the manager have the full the power, suppose in agriculture policy the government is the authority to change the instruments to a means to achieve the objective of agriculture policy. There are examples like economic quantity. Suppose we want to increase the credit flow in the agriculture sector, so we can change the interest rate, we can reduce the interest rate. So, there will be more demand for the credit from the farmers or other peoples who are associated with agriculture. Sometimes we have instruments like institutional framework like nationalization of bank for increasing the credit flow in the agriculture sector. We have done nationalization of the bank. These are the institutional infrastructure development for agriculture sector. So, instruments are basically means by which the policy objectives are pursued, are achieved. And the instruments which we are using, the effectiveness of these instruments depends on many factors. Sometimes the change in the instrument itself, like we have changed from the instruments of interest rate to the price support, or sometimes a variation in the availability of instruments in the rate of availability of the, like we can change the subsidy in the fertilizer, in the irrigation. So, based on that effectiveness of the instruments change. So, how the instruments is used in conjunction with the other complementary and supplementary instruments, that is also very important. It affect the effectiveness or achievement of the policy goals. Suppose you want to increase the agriculture production, we can use one instrument as a subsidy, input subsidy, and then also we can provide the price support. So, there will be two instruments. So, there is a double effect on achieving, or we have double factor in achieving our policy objectives. So, there are different instruments which we are using, which we can use to achieve the agriculture sector goal, agriculture sector objectives. Price support for major crops, like we have the minimum support price in the country, and then public procurement of the food grain, input subsidy on fertilizers, power and irrigation, then public investment in agriculture infrastructure development, then trade policy instruments are there, exchange rate manipulations are there. Then we can sometimes change the rules and regulations related to the sectors, agriculture sector. And basically these instruments are in dynamic natures. Actually the authority, the government or any organization, they can change these instruments based on their policy outlook, overall policy outlook of the nations of the organization. So, they can change the instruments. So, they are basically dynamic in nature. Sometimes a change in the rule and regulation of international institution can compel a nation to make necessary changes. Suppose after the WTO, we cannot have the quantity restriction on the import or export, and and we have to go for the other import tariffs. Such measure we have to go. So, based on the international institutions or international regulations, sometimes we have to change our policy instruments to achieve the desired objective. So, now let us first move or first understand the input policy, which is the most important instrument in case of India and many other developed country or even the developing country. This is the widely used instrument of agriculture policy. So, subsidy is basically is a equivalent to a fall in the price of input by the amount of the subsidy. Suppose one bag of the urea actual cost is 400 rupees, but it is available to the farmers at rupees 350. So, 50 rupees, this difference is basically a subsidy, and this subsidy instruments encourage the use of subsidized input for raising crops yield and production, and to make the farm produce cheaper for the consumers because the cost of cultivation will be less, and provide cheap raw material for the industries because cost of the cultivation, the cost of production will be less because the farmers are getting the subsidized input, they are getting the input at low cost than the actual cost, and this subsidy component also boost the agriculture export because we are able to compete in the international market because our cost of cultivation is less due to the availability of the subsidy component. And in case of India, there are three major components of input subsidy. One is the fertilizer subsidy, another is the power subsidy, third is the irrigation subsidy. And here you can see the component of fertilizer subsidy. Every year around 80,000 crore rupees is spent on this fertilizer subsidy. There are two major components we can say. One is the nitrogen or urea based subsidy, another is the phosphorus or potassium fertilizer based subsidy. So, approximate around 50,000 crore is spent on the urea or nitrogen component of fertilizer, and around 25,000 crore is spent on the phosphorus and potassium fertilizers. And there are two methods of providing the subsidy in case of fertilizers. Like in case of urea, urea is available to the farmer at a fixed price. So, this component, the subsidy provided by government is changed according to the cost of or price of the urea in the market, but farmers will get a fixed price of urea. They will get the urea at the fixed price. Suppose government have fixed the price of urea is 400 rupees per bag, so they will get. But in case of potassium or the phosphorus fertilizer, the subsidy component is fixed. If the government is providing 50 rupees per bag of subsidy on potassium and the phosphorus, so but for the farmers they will get there will be variation in the price of the urea because based on the cost of the production of cost or price of the these fertilizers, this component is the price to the farmers is changed. So, in this graph basically you can see the fertilizer subsidy around in the last 5 years we can see more than 70,000 crore rupees the government is spending on the fertilizer subsidy. Input subsidy, there is some criticism on the ground of the environment, equity and efficiency, because when we provide the input subsidy, it promotes excessive use of the fertilizer, the irrigation water and sometimes the electricity. So, sometimes there is not much requirement of using the fertilizer because the fertilizer is available at lesser price the farmers are using. So, it promote excessive use, imbalanced use of this input, the subsidized input. Then crowded out real investment. It means the government has a fixed budget, the government has a fixed money, and if we are the government is spending more on the input subsidy, they will get less money, they will have less money for the infrastructure development, institutional development and for other purposes. So, basically due to the subsidy the government or we are crowding out our real investment. And then inequitable distribution of subsidy across the region and farmers. This is also because the big farmers they are using more fertilizers, so they will get more benefited from the this fertilizer subsidy. Then the price support is another important instruments of agriculture policy, and it is very widely used instrument in India. It has multiple objectives, multiple policy goals, and price stabilization and income support is the most important goal the government want to achieve out of this price support instruments. And basically the purpose is to enhance the crop production at the farmers level using this price support instrument, and in this instrument basically what we do, the government fix minimum support prices. Through this minimum support prices, government give a kind of assurance to the farmers that we will make reasonable income to the farmers. They will get remunerative prices of their produce by fixing the minimum support prices, and government responsibility is to procure if market price is below the minimum support prices. Support the wheat MSP is 2000 rupees per quintal and market price is 1800 rupees per quintal, then government will procure the wheat the production from the farmers at 2000 rupees per quintal. Then to implement this price support instrument, basically Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices have been constituted in 1965, and this commission CSCP recommend the remunerative prices for the different agriculture commodities, and government procure food grain for the providing remunerative prices to the farmers for maintaining the food security in the country, and provide incentive for diversification. Suppose government want to have more of production of pulses, the government what they do, they increase the prices of the pulses in comparative to other cereal crops or fine cereal crop. And at presently around 22 crops are there under the minimum support prices. For this 22 crops minimum support price is announced, and government is have the target that we will provide, the government will provide 50% profit over their input cost. So government when they announce this minimum support prices, they give 50% more on their input cost or cost of cultivation. So in this slide basically we can see the minimum support prices of the various commodities. There are 22 commodities there are, but here in this slide you can see 5-6 commodities, and you can see the trend. For paddy common, the price of the paddy in 2016-17 it was 1470 rupees per quintal. It has reached to the 1868 in 2021. So there is a continuous increase in the minimum support price of the paddy. Then in case of wheat, you can see the 1625 rupees per quintal was the minimum support price for in the year 2016-17. Now in 2019-20 it has reached to the 1925. So in this manner the minimum support prices the government announced for the farmers, and based on the recommendation of the Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices, the government announced the minimum support prices. Then food subsidy is another most important the instruments of agriculture price policy. This instrument is basically targeted for the poor people to ensure their food security, and sometimes this instrument is also used to increase the farmers' income. And in this instrument basically what the government do, they keep the issue price of the food grain lower than the actual cost or actual price in the market. So this difference between the issue price and the actual market price, we can say this food subsidy component. And there are three components when we talk about the food security. One is the consumer subsidy, the subsidy on the maintenance of the buffer stock, and implicit producer subsidy. So the difference between the market price or issue price, we can say, is the consumer subsidy, and government is also involving, there is a lot of cost involved in maintaining the buffer stock. That is also a kind of subsidy for the consumers, and government is also providing the lot of input subsidy for the production of the food grains and other agricultural commodities. That is also a part of the food subsidy. And the figure of this food subsidy, we can say it is 1.71 lakh crores for food subsidy component, and it is also includes the subsidy on the sugar. And for implementing the food subsidy component, basically there are 3-4 programs are there, and target public distribution system through which the government make available the food grains to the poor peoples, to the targeted peoples. And for implementing this food security the food subsidy component. Actually, National Food Security Act was passed in 2013, through which the around 50% of our population is under National Food Security Act, and time to time the government is making lot of changes to improve this food subsidy component and to rationalize the food subsidy component. And presently government is implementing the one nation one ration card. So if an individual is provided a ration card, that ration card will be applicable in all part of the country. Then direct payment is another instrument which is very important, and government is also implementing this instrument in India also. Direct payment is basically is given to the farmers to achieve the multi-functionality objectives, and it is basically to maintain the agricultural output within the predefined output quota. And common agriculture policy of the European Union is using these instruments for them, for their farmers, and USA also transfers some direct money to the farmers for not to grow crops, basically to rejuvenate the land, to maintain the soil fertility. The government makes some payment to the farmers to know to grow the crops. So payment are directly transferred from the taxpayer to the farmers without raising prices to the consumer. And the objective of the direct payment, this instrument, is to provide the price stability in the country, protect the farmers' income and conserve the soil. And presently we are implementing the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, PM Kisan scheme, and under this scheme basically government is transferring, government is providing direct income support to the farmers at the rupees 6,000 per annum to the marginal and small farmers, and under this scheme about 12 crore farmers are getting benefited from this instrument. Then institutional finance is another most important instruments, because our agriculture is very input intensive. It is technology oriented agriculture now. We are using the inputs that we purchase from the market, and the resource poor farmers and need support for the financial support. Actually they are not have financial resources to purchase this costly input from the market. So that's why they need some kind of support. They need some kind of financing from the government, from the bank, from the cooperative societies. And for this purpose, various initiatives have been taken up, like social control in 1968, then nationalization bank in 1969, then regional rural bank established by the government on 2nd October 1975, then cooperative banks are there, the microfinance is there, and NABARD is looking up. NABARD is coordinating all the institutional finance related activity in the country. And here you can see the distribution of institutional finance in the country, like the scheduled commercial bank, they are distributing around 79% of the total credit distribution in the agriculture sector. The cooperative sectors, they are making contribution of 15%. It means the 15% of total credit is disbursed by the cooperative sector, then regional rural bank around 5%, then there are microfinance institutions, they are contributing 1% in total agriculture credit distribution. Then infrastructure development is another instrument. Basically in these instruments, the state government, they make lot of investment to develop the various type of infrastructure to support the agriculture activity, to support the farm sector, to support the rural sector. So lot of investment on the irrigation, infrastructure development, the canal development, and the land improvement activities, and then soil and water conservation activity, road and electricity development in the rural area, and the water and pasture land improvement in the rural area, and then research, training and extension to improve the farm productivities. And then sometimes they have to develop the infrastructure for inspection of the various activity of agriculture, like related to the marketing, related to the disbursement of the subsidies. So lot of inspection that has to be done. So that infrastructure is being developed by the government. And warehouse receipt is another important instrument, we can say it is a specific instrument of support to market organization who are involved in the marketing of the agricultural produce. This is very special instrument for them, and there are a lot of focus on this instrument from the government side. And basically government bank, the commercial bank refinance crop through warehouse receipt. If a farmer is storing his produce in the warehouse, and they will get the receipt from the warehouses, and based on that receipt the commercial bank refinance, they provide the loan to the farmers. So in this way these instruments are being used. And then exchange rate management is another instruments which are used in the agriculture sector, particularly to regulate the trade activity, import-export activity. And in this instrument, basically the appreciation and depreciation of the domestic currency vis-a-vis other foreign currency is important, and the government manipulate the value of the domestic currency, keeping in view to support the sectors import and export. So devaluation of the currency makes the domestic goods cheaper in the international market, and thereby improve the export competitiveness. And the effectiveness of these instruments depends on the elasticity of the import and export with reference to the changes in the value of domestic currency in terms of foreign currency. Then agriculture trade regulation is another instrument. Basically in this instrument government regulates the import and export of the agricultural commodities, and there are 2-3 instruments. One is the quotas. So in quota basically government do some quantity restrictions. Suppose the prices of onion rising in the domestic market, then they will ban the export of the onion. So in this way they sometimes the commodities is available at low cost in the foreign market, then we remove the exports and then we import the commodity from the foreign market. So in this way government regulate the agriculture trade, and basically it applied to the import and export to increase and decrease amount traded internationally, and thus increase or reduce domestic prices. So in order to maintain the domestic prices in the nation, in the country, government regulate this quota, import duties and export subsidies for maintaining the domestic prices of the agricultural commodity. Then there are other instruments are also there, like government modifies the acts, rules and regulations, like Land Reforms Acts for making reforms in the land tenure system and for equitable distribution of land. So this was the most important instrument in 1950s, 60s and 70s. So basically through this Reforms Act, actually government want to provide the tenurial or security to the farmers, farmers or those persons who are cultivating the lands, they should have the ownership of the land. So in this way various land reforms activity were started. Then government also regulates or changed the Essential Commodity Acts. Basically through this act empowered the government to impose restriction on the movement and storage of the commodities. Then there is a Agricultural Produce Market Committee APMC Act. So it restricts or the direct entry of private traders and agricultural business company in purchasing, storing and marketing of the agricultural produce. And recently government have modified this regulations related to agriculture, like they have made amendment in the Essential Commodity Act, and to enable better price realization for the farmers, actually government has allowed the private companies private traders to participate in the trading activity. And then agricultural marketing reforms also there. Actually reforms the farmers can sell their produce at any places in even the other states. So government is going to formulate a central law that will be applicable in complete or whole part of the country. Then they also modified this agricultural produce price and quality insurance. They want to give that actually for the contract farming, this is very important. Actually So government is going to provide a legal framework for the contract farmers. Those farmers who go with contract to different company to supply the agriculture produce. So government change time to time different rules, regulation, acts related to agriculture. And now we can sum up this session that a number of policy instruments are there to achieve the policy goals, and price support, public procurement of food grains, input subsidies on fertilizers, power, irrigation, and public investment in agricultural infrastructure are the major instruments which government is using to achieve the agriculture sector goal. And these instruments can be complemented and supplemented with trade policy instruments such as the quantitative restriction on import and export, custom duty, and sometimes straight trading also is there. Then exchange rate manipulation to improve the competitiveness of the country's agriculture export. This is another instruments which are used by the government. Then amendment in the acts, rules and regulation can be made to achieve the policy goal in the country. Thank you very much.